Okay, what we're going to do today is the basics. A basic for idiots. When you turn up your boost, what you're going to have problems with immediately are your coils. So it's recommended you replace your coils with good new coils. I recommend Delphi, or you could go with a new brand. I just used the Delphis, but I guess they have an upgraded brand. You could probably go on BMW Fanatic. He knows what brand that is. I don't know right now, but that guy knows. So anyway, and these are the plugs. So yeah, so you need cooler plugs and you need new coils, because you'll find out right away once you turn it up. All right, guys, I'm going to do a real quick video on just the basic upgrades for bolt-ons on your N54 engine. The first thing you want to get would be a nice intercooler, okay? You don't want to go too crazy. It just depends. If you're going to go big turbo, then get the, VRSF 7-incher, or you're always safe with the 6-incher. The only problem with the 6-inch core ones is usually they just have 2.5 in and out, which you can make big power with them, but I would rather have the 3-inchers. But I have the 6-incher in here because it's not turned up totally crazy. So anyway, so you want to get an intercooler, okay? Another thing is your charge pipe is really restrictive, and while you have an intercooler, you might as well change your charge pipe out. So what I do is I have a custom charge pipe. Okay, so you got your charge pipe, you have your intercooler, then you want to get your downpipes. I prefer catless downpipes. Of course, you have emissions and stuff, so make sure you do your emissions, all that taken care of first. Of course, inlets. Inlets you're going to get with your stock turbos, you're going to get way more responsiveness. I was able to fit a 3-inch down to a reducer coupler to 1.75 straight to the turbo, and back on the rear side I have a 1.75 to a 2.5, and then I have that going up to a 3-inch, but I'm going to actually do another one on this side. I just didn't want to relocate this. I was able to fit this on. I had to move this obviously to get this one on, but I kind of like that stock location. But I want to get shorter piping. I don't think I can get a 3-inch to 1.75 on the rear. So, but I could go 2.5 and then go taper up to, or anti-taper to 3. So I have 2, Inlets are a very, very, very important thing to have. That gets you a lot more power because your engine needs to breathe. Just like any engine, it's like a large air pump. So yeah, so you have your intercooler, you have your charge pipe, you have your down pipes, you have your inlets. Next thing you want, especially if you're running E85, is low pressure fuel pump. So you need to get that, or else after 30-40% ethanol, it depends on your engine, you're going to start running lean codes, and that'll actually take power away. It's not safe, and you'll be thrown into like map 4 if you're running JB4. So, and then another option is if you have larger turbos, or if you want to max out your stock turbos, is to get if you have the low pressure fuel pump, you want to get like a fuelet system. They have the single ones on your throttle body, or you can get a port injection. Usually people that are running big turbos have the port injection ones. Okay, and then obviously you're going to need a Lsd differential, limited slip differential, which they're harder to get on the 135 manuals because they weld it. So, but if you could grab actual one from an automatic, problem is you're changing your gear ratio when you do that. But for automatic cars, you're pretty good. You could just bolt on a limited slip. So otherwise, you can just buy them. They're just more expensive to buy the whole package. I think they're like $2,600. Obviously, with a manual, you're going to need a clutch. And if you're turning up your automatic to over like 600 plus, you're going to need to have that transmission rebuilt, which I've heard mixed stories about that. I don't know, maybe good just keeping it stock, and if you end up going through a transmission, then probably get an upgraded one then. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of the basics for the bolt-ons. You know, so you have your, which I have this tripod, you have your massive intercooler, you have your charge pipe, you have your inlets, you have your down pipes. Yeah, and that's, you know, make sure you have a good fuel. And then you have your JB4, and then you have your MHD tune, which MHD tune's cool because you can actually turn the boost up a little more. And another thing you can do is have a N20 mass air pressure sensor, which is the 3.5 bar, and you have that integrated, which you have to just, it's a simple mod to get that thing dialed. So, but that'll allow you to have a little more boost. It kind of tricks everything up a little bit, gives you an extra few pounds of boost. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the basics on your N54 bolt-ons. And I hope it helps. There's another thing real quick. I got a lot of builds to do. Okay, as far as when you want to get an aftermarket turbo, you know, lots of people like the look of the top mount turbo. I personally, if I'm going to get a single turbo, I'm going to get a bottom mount turbo. The reason why I get a bottom mount is because then I don't have all this heat issue and this heat up here, okay? The bottom mount's going to keep that heat down. It's not going to be here. You don't have to insulate this, which they have that gold stuff that looks space age. I really think that's cool. I like the way the top mounted turbo looks, but I'm not into showing my engine off too much. It doesn't matter. I just want that punch. But a good aftermarket single turbo kit for the best price I found is that JB Works. Okay, that JB Fabrication. They have good precision kits. They have bottom mounts, which I would get, and they're like $2,800, and which you can't beat that. And you have an option of different turbos. You have the Precision 5862, the 6262, the 6266, and the 6766. Personally, what I'd do is I'd get the 6766, but because they just sell the journal bearings, but I'd get a 6766 and make sure it's a dual ball bearing, ceramic ball bearing turbo, because you'll have the spool of a smaller turbo and allow you to have a larger turbo so you can have major power. And just that quick spool, because you don't have a journal bearing. So that's your way around eliminating a lot of lag, is by getting a dual ball bearing turbo. Plus they're more reliable. And having a single turbo, definitely you have one turbo less to go out. If you want to do more track racing, because that's single turbos are more straight line type deal, you could still track race. It's just there's too much power there. I recommend for like track racing and all around power and having that stock punch, like that almost no lag, Vargas. Those game-changing turbos, I've heard, I mean, those are sick, okay? So those GC turbos, and then they have all these upgraded turbo kits with Vargas turbos that just go way beyond the game changers. But the Vargas game changer turbos, I love those because I love the way they open up on where the manifold comes to the turbo, to where it goes V-band, to where you could just pop other turbos in there. So I really, really like that kit. It's like if you wanted to get the GC lights, you could actually upgrade to probably the regular GCs because it has the same manifold with the actual V-band clamps. So Vargas GC turbos are the way to go with twin turbos if you want to keep it a twin turbo. I think that's even a step up from the bottom single mount turbo. Personally, you could probably definitely get more power with the Precision 6766, but I don't know if it's more usable power. So the game changer Vargas turbos are the way to go as far as going twin turbos. Of course, you got the Pure and then the RB turbos, but my personal preference is I'd go with the Vargas game changers. So yeah, that's pretty much it on turbos. Like I said, when you go larger turbos, you're going to need more fuel. So you're going to have to get the fuelet, or you're going to get a manifold fuel system. And of course, you're going to have a hopped up low pressure fuel pump, which all that stuff's pretty easy, pretty cheap. So that's basic. That's just the basic gist on how to get your N54 to supercar levels. The cool thing about methanol injection is it lowers your intake temps, it raises your octane levels, it allows your engine to run a higher advanced timing, it cleans your intake valves, it cools your combustion, and it cools your exhaust temps as well. And you know, it allows you to run a higher boost, and it's overall safer for your engine, especially when you use it and you run it with the flow sensor, and you have your nozzle size and everything dialed with your boost onset. There's a lot of variables to water and methanol injection, but if you actually get it dialed in, it becomes extremely beneficial, and it's a lot safer to run with your engine. So, and if you don't have a flow sensor and you just want to do a basic setup, it works as good as a safeguard. But you don't want to turn your car up to a level to where you just use it as a safeguard. You don't turn your car up because of it without a flow sensor, because you will screw your car up. However, if you're just running the same amount of boost and you're not turning it up more than you would normally do, you can get a little smaller nozzle. You can even spray some water if you have a small enough nozzle at an earlier onset of boost, and just, you know, gather up some of the benefits. So that's about it with the methanol injection. All right, you're also going to require a oil cooler if you don't have one on your car, or you can do an extra oil cooler. Or you can do an oil cooler, and you can do also a extra little radiator for your engine cooling. So that's also another thing you can do with your N54 or N55 based supercar, which will be a supercar when you get it to that level. However, yeah, just make sure you have a good oil cooler. If you don't already have an oil cooler on your car, or an extra one that you can do if you already have one that's on stock, like on this 135 there is one, but you can definitely get an extra oil cooler, especially if you're taking it on track days and stuff like that. Or you could choose to just do another radiator heat exchanger for your engine, so you can do a radiator and then oil cooler. So that's about it for the bolt-ons.